Well, congratulations on your new vehicle, and we're so happy that you want to protect it and keep it looking new for years. This is a very important video to watch in its entirety to understand how Capital PPF truly cares about giving you the best end results possible by taking more time and attention to detail to make every installation better and more invisible than other shops' pre-cut patterns and installations. Now, we realize most of you have never had paint protection film before, so how would you know if you're getting a good job for your investment? Well, we'll show you the level of quality that you will get at Capital PPF. Well, here it is. Doesn't our work look great? Most shops will actually show you their work from this distance, which really isn't a great judge of good quality. So let's go through some of the things that set Capital PPF apart from other shops. Some people say that the installer makes all the difference. And that's true in this case because Norm Schilling, my husband, has been installing paint protection film for well over 20 years. And he learned before pre-cut kits even existed. So he has that experience to try to make the film as invisible as possible. One of the first ways that he does this is by wrapping every edge possible. Now what that means is where the edge of the film is, he's going to tuck it underneath the panels of the vehicle. Why is this important? Well, on a car that we personally bought that had film on it that was a pre-cut pattern, the edges were not wrapped. There was about a 1/2 inch gap around the front of the hood, and we actually got chips right there on the leading edge of the hood. Also, wherever the edge of the film is, basically when the film is cut, it's film and adhesive. That little bit of exposed adhesive can collect dirt over time. So if you have more edges that are visible, you will see this collection of dirt more easily, especially on lighter color cars. So everywhere that you can have the edges wrapped means that's less edges visible that can collect unsightly dirt over time. Where we can't wrap the edges, they are very tight. That means you're not going to have misaligned edges or large edge gaps that can be very common on pre-cut installations. Notice the difference in these pictures. When possible, we remove certain trim pieces and emblems so that we can wrap the edges or have a cutout-free installation. Again, trying to avoid exposed edges of the film is always a best practice. And most importantly, if we can avoid seams where two pieces of film come together, we do. Why is that important? Well, on pre-cut kits, they're designed for easier and faster installation. So they're often designed in 2 or 3 or 4 pieces, especially on bumpers that are complicated. So when the film comes together and they're butted up against each other, no matter how great that seam looks when it leaves the shop and how tight it is, it can still collect dirt in between those 2 pieces of film, and there's no way to get in between them to clean. So if we can avoid those seams, we will. Now on this vehicle, there were actually going to be 4 seams on the kit, 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. Norm was able to do it without any of those seams with a 1-piece installation, so you're not going to have that noticeable dirt buildup, especially on a light color car that would become unsightly over time. Next, have you ever put a screen protector on a tablet and you get that annoying speck of dirt under the film? Well, multiply that size by your vehicle's panels. We take multiple steps of cleaning and prevention to avoid contamination as best as possible. We even shut off the AC before exposing adhesive. But nothing is perfect. Your vehicle's paint will have flaws, The film may have a flaw, and despite our best efforts, there may be a flaw in the installation. This could be a speck of dust. However, this level of contamination would be unacceptable in our minds. A little more about the installation process. If you can imagine trying to get a flat piece of film to conform to these complex shapes, it requires a lot of manipulation. That manipulation can sometimes result in a nearly invisible working line where the film was stretched or lifted. But we try to avoid this as best as we can. This is typically not noticeable in everyday lighting, but perhaps in a specific lighting at a specific angle, you may see something like this. What about the lifespan of the film? Most high-quality films are warranted for 10 years or more against failure or degradation of the film, like cracking, bubbling, and yellowing. What is not covered is wear and tear. So, if over a few years you collect a few of those tiny little nicks in the film from sharp rocks, you can absolutely choose to have the film removed and replaced, but it's not going to be covered under warranty. The film is still doing its job great, and it has saved your paint over and over. Now also remember that when you get a tiny little nick in that film from a sharp rock, it tends to look more white. So on a darker color car, it will be a little bit more apparent, but don't worry, the film is still doing its job, and give us a call if you get one and we'll have a suggestion or two to make it a little bit less apparent. Are you someone who's going to keep your car for as long as possible? Well, that's great. You're going to get the most value out of your investment of protection. But let's say you have a film that's warranted for 10 years. Should you remove it at 10 years? Most likely, yes. Could it last a little bit longer? Perhaps, depending on how much UV exposure it has, depending on how well it's maintained, depending on how much wear and tear it has. But what we do suggest is around that end of the lifespan of the film, have it professionally inspected. If there's no signs of degrading, maybe wait 1 more year. Don't wait 10 more years. To give you an example, the Panamera Turbo that we bought that had 8-year-old film on it, the entire front end was removed in about 2 to 3 hours. That was exactly how long it should have taken. On the opposite hand, if you allow the film too much time to degrade, it's going to be very difficult and very costly to remove the film. The other example that we have had is a 2004 Porsche that had film on it, original film. Back then, there was no 10-year film, it was 5-year film, and he left it on for 17 years. The film had degraded so much that it came off in pieces about the size of my pinky nail, and it took 30 hours to remove. And when shops have to charge by the hour, we don't want to put you in that situation. So consider resetting the clock around that 10-year mark and having the film removed and replaced to keep it looking fresh before the film starts to degrade. Every film will degrade, whether it's window tint, vinyl, or paint protection film. Just please don't wait until that happens. And since that 2004 Porsche that we've done, we never want somebody to be in that situation again. And so we put a small sticker in your door jamb in case you do not own the car in 10 years. The person that does knows that the film should be removed around that time. We appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and we look forward to protecting your car for you.